Hello, welcome to the number theory class. Myself Amar Pote from SP College Pune. So in this lecture, I am discussing some things in number theory course. So number theory course is one of the most important topics in entire mathematics. So that is if we take so why I am say number theory is important topic in mathematical subjects, since if we take any mathematical subject, if we think or if we study uh, if we study some things in mathematical subjects, so at that time we always require the numbers or all theories which is based on the number. So in my lecture I am discussing some things which is based on the numbers. So here I am discuss some things which is based on the congruence relation. So basically, if you take any part or any theorem, any corollary, any lemma in mathematical subject, we always require the divisibility. That is, divisibility is the core part in number theory course. So that is here in case of congruences, we always required of things which is based on the divisibility. That is, here we use here we using properties and things in divisibility. So I am discuss first of all I am here discuss some things which is based on the set of primes. So let I am firstly observe or discuss the definition of prime. An integer p is strictly greater than 1 is called a prime number or a prime in case there is a no divisor d of p satisfying d is strictly greater than 1 and strictly less than p, and if an integer a is strictly greater than 1 is not a prime, it is called a composite number. So that is if we observe the definition of prime, so in case of prime we have a prime is always positive integer which is not equal to 1, and that is which is strictly greater than 1, and prime number p have positive divisors d which is strictly lies between 1 and p. So that is it is not equal to 1 as well as it is not equal to p itself, and those integer which satisfy this definition we say that this is set of primes. After that we discussing about the set of primes numbers is a huge set of number, as like set of natural numbers, set of integers. Also here one thing is note that set of primes numbers is also infinite things, and that is those integer or those positive integer which is not satisfy the definition of prime number except one, we those integer we say that composite number. So for example, if we take 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, this is all set of primes up to infinite. Now this is an infinite set, and those integer which not a satisfied definition of prime we call composite number. So for example, if we take 4, 6, 8, 9, this is set of composite number. Since in particular if we considering 8, so for 8 we have positive divisors which is lies between 1 and 8. So for example, 8 have 2 is divisor of 8, as well as 4 is positive divisor of 8. In similar manner, we considering for the 9. So in case of 9, we get positive divisors of 9 except 1 and 9 is 3. So that is it is 9 is not satisfy the definition of prime, then we say that 9 is composite number. So here I am discuss in theorem 1.14, I am discuss one of the most interesting thing which is based on the set of primes. So that is every integer n greater than 1 can be expressed as a product of primes. So this is basically called fundamental theorem of arithmetic. So fundamental theorem of arithmetic say that if we take any positive integer n, that is positive integer n which is strictly greater than 1, we can express this positive integer n as product of primes. Or that is, in some cases it happens that perhaps only one factor. So for only one factor, so for in case of only one factor we say that this number is itself prime. So for example, if we take 5, 7, 11, so for 5, 7, 11 we just express 5, 7, 11 as 5 itself. 7 we express in case of prime 7 we express only 7. Similarly 11 we express as 11 itself. So that is this thing is very interesting, and this proof is also very interesting proof. So or if you take integer n greater than 1, suppose this integer is a composite number. So for composite number, for example, if you take 15 or sorry, if you take 10, now we already know that 10 is not a prime number. So as 10 is composite number, then we can expand 10 in using product of primes or prime in we can expand 10 as in prime factorization. So for example, in case of 10 we can expand 10 as 2 into 5. So before starting the proof of this theorem, so I am discussing this proof in two cases. That is, in the first case we take n is prime, and in the second case we say that n is not a prime. So for if n is prime, then we get a required proof. So that is we are done in the first case we are done. So now here I am discussing for the second case, that is if n is composite number. So for if n is composite number, then by using definition of composite number we can expand n, that is we get some divisor for this n. So that is we get some 1 except 1 and n, we get some trivial divisors which divides n. So that is now here that is if n have positive divisors, then we can expand n can be factorized into say n1 and n2, and n1 is strictly lies between 1 and n. Similarly n2 is strictly lies between 1 and n. So now here also two cases arises, as is either for particular n1, so that is either n1 is prime or n1 is composite number. So in the first case, suppose n1 is prime, then again we are done. or in the suppose n1 is not prime, then we can expand n1 as n3 into n4. So if we continuing in this way, we get that is this is finite number. So that is, if this is finite number, then we can't express this factorization into infinite product. So that is, this thing is stop somewhere, and at that time we get all n1 n2 n3 n2 up to this factorization, suppose of r nr, up to this factorization all are primes. So we say that we can expand, that is, here we write down statement as every integer n greater than 1 can be expressed as product of primes. So that is, here we are done. So later on, here I am discussing about the theorem 1.15. So theorem 1.15, it is basically the Euclid's lemma. Euclid's lemma say that if P divides AB, then P being a prime, then either P divides A or P divides B. So that is, suppose P divides product of two integer, then P must be divisor of one of the integer. So more generally we say that if P divides a1 up to an, then P divides at least one of the factor ai, this product. So also this proof is very trivial one. So now here, now if we assume P divides AB, then we want to show that either P divides A or P divides B. So let here, that is, now we want to show that two cases. We want to show that either P divides A or P divides B. So in first case, suppose if we take P does not divide A. Now here P being a prime and A is any integer. So now if and P is not equal to A, then we must be say that A and P are relatively prime. So as A and P are relatively prime, then by using theorem 1.10, we say that now if P divides AB, P does not divide A, then we directly say that P divides B. So this is nothing but the proof of a Euclid's lemma. So later on here they are discussing about the generalization of Euclid's lemma. In case of generalization of Euclid's lemma, here they say that if P is divisor of a1 up to an, then P must be divided at least one of factor. That is, here I am saying for at least. That is also P is divisor of at most all, 2 factors, 3 factor, 4 factor. So all this thing. This also proof of this theorem is very trivial one. So later here I am discussing the statement of fundamental theorem of arithmetic. The fundamental theorem of arithmetic, or the unique factorization theorem, it say that the factoring of any integer n which is strictly greater than 1 into primes is unique apart from the order of the prime factors. So that is, if we expand n as product of primes, that is, if we expand n as p1 up to pr, as well as if we expand n as q1 up to qs, so this can't be happen. That is, we can only expand n which is strictly greater than 1 into unique prime factorization. That is, we can't expand n as or we can't expand in n as in different ways. So proof of this is also very trivial one. So in the first case, suppose if we expand n as p1 up to pr and q1 up to qs, all are distinct prime. So later on, now here so now Suppose if we write down P1 up to PR is equal to Q1 up to Ks, then one of the P1 that is one of the factor on left hand side we must be divided on the entire part of a right hand side. So without loss of generality here I am saying that suppose P1 divides Q1 up to Qs. So as P1 divides Q1 up to Qs, all are primes, then by using above theorem we say that P1 must be divided one of the factor Qj. So as P1 divides Qj, P1 is prime, Qj is prime. So as P1 is prime, Qj is prime, so we say that P1 is equal to Q1, or without loss of generality here we say that P1 is equal to Q1. If we cancelling now P1 and Q1 common on this above factor, so we cancelling P1 on both sides, so finally we get P2 up to Ps is equal to Q2 up to Qr, or a P2 up to PR, this factorization is equal to Q2 up to Qs. So in similar manner we say that suppose one of the factor on the left hand side must be divide this entire product, entire remaining product on the right hand side. That is, suppose we say that if P2 divides Q2 up to Qs, then again in similar manner we get P2 is equal to Q2. Then finally we cancelling P2 and Q2 on both sides. So finally in the last step we get, so now that is here I am restrict so one thing that R and what is the relation between R and S. So that is R is the number of the factor on the left hand side and S is the number of the factor on the left hand side. So let I am impose the condition that R is strictly greater than S. So R is strictly greater than S, then on the right hand side we get PR1 plus PR2 up to on the right hand side, as R is strictly greater than S, so on the right hand side we get PS plus 1 up to PR is equal to 1, but this all are prime, so this can't be happen. So that is we can't expand any in two different prime factorization, then we are done.